man, what a week. What a week, what a week, what a week. Welcome back to the Can I Be Honest show. Man, it's a lot going on. Jacob Blake being shot by Kenosha police, the protests and riots that break out beyond that, and you have a shooter. You have multiple people dead, and NBA calls it quits. On top of that, the Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, dies of cancer. A ton to talk about. It's a tough week. Dewan,
yeah,
where you at?
This is probably the hardest week for me to do the show. I definitely, as recently as yesterday, even today, I think when we talked, I didn't feel like having a conversation. I think there's a lot for us to talk about, and normally I'm excited, but it's just heavy, man. It's heavy. Struggling to really believe in hope. Probably spent way too much time reading comments and posts from people that seem to want to fan the flames towards just real dangerous exchanges. People that want to see or want to instigate more shootings and more violence towards folks that they disagree with. So that type of stuff really troubles me. It really gets to me, because some of these people don't even they don't even see themselves as problems, and that really concerns me and kind of makes me sick, physically and emotionally. So probably going to unplug after we finish doing the show tonight and take a break for a day or two from keeping updated on all this stuff. So that's probably be really good for me to be able to do that. And I'm sure if I do unplug for a day or two, there'll be lots to talk about, because we never, unfortunately, have a shortage of things to talk about when it comes to this. And Ralph is going to let y'all know why.
This is America.
I have a dream.
These are animals.
America preaches integration and practices segregation.
Why did you say Mexico?
A rising tide of discontent.
The South will rise again. I have a dream.
We have contrasting visions about what America is.
This is America.
So I think it makes sense to talk about the man, Chadwick Boseman. What does that mean? It almost seems to me it's just it's strange. People pass every day. Yeah. Celebrities pass. What does the Black Panther film mean for Black America?
Yeah. So
and what does he mean? Like, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, and how does that in 2020 just like what kind of impact does that have? What is the message there?
Yeah, so I want to give a shout out to Eric Carter, a good friend of mine. Been knowing since we were kids, man, and having some serious backyard basketball battles over our schoolcraft. But he's a police officer that came up through DPD. He's not in Detroit anymore, but he's still serving. And he's one of the people that I like the way he brings balance to these type of discussions. So I see that he's on, and I just wanted to say what's up. Eric Carter, a.k.a. Suge, is what we all know him as in the neighborhood. But feel free to join us in the comments, man, and share your thoughts, and even jump on if you feel up to it, as we dive into some of the other stuff later on. But Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, I felt weird, man, because, when something as iconic as the Black Panther takes place and all that it meant in the Black community and having representation in that space, right? Like proud, strong, and proud to be Black representation. Like that was huge. And we wanted to make him ours and belong to us. But like as I was mourning the loss, I was like, man, like, am I mourning the characters? Um, like, like my man had a family, like that loved him, that walked through this with him, and I felt it felt weird, and guilty about the way that I mourned him and the thoughts that I had and what it meant for me and what it meant for, Black people. And just like, I don't think even like, I don't think that it's something that was very healthy for us. I think that, like, in the Black community, I think it was very healthy for everyone, right? So like like, that's big part of like the problem, when everybody can see Black people strong and proud, with integrity and the advancements in technology that Wakanda have and all that kind of stuff. Those are things that we need to have to bring balance to the narrative that we've all seen about Black people, because we get the history lessons that we get, and they're all inadequate, and it's intentional and it's unhealthy. But to put all of that on Chadwick, and the producers and writers for the Black Panther, is not fair. But I think that he took that mantle and he wore it well, and I appreciate him for that. And he will be missed. When I looked at the body of work that he had in such a short time, I heard something that really made me proud of him. It was about a character that he was going to play on a soap opera. I think it's All My Children, if I'm not mistaken. But the irony is, man, Killmonger, what's the brother's name from
Michael Jordan? Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan ended up playing this character. Well, Chadwick Boseman played the character on All My Children for about a week, and he had issues with the character, about some of the stereotypes that the character fell up under. And he said he was at home and wondering, should I push back? Should I like even bring this up? How's it going to be received? And he brought it up. Well, the word is that they let him go because he was a troublemaker, but they took some of his suggestions and tweaked the character a little bit. And Michael B. Jordan ended up playing that character for 3 years on that soap opera. So for that, that type of integrity, and I'm all about like speaking up in those type of situations, even if it's going to cost you something, made me proud of him, like on a whole nother level. So yeah, I appreciate what he meant. I appreciate, the way he took that character and made him seem so real. And I definitely miss him.
Yeah. I would love to hear your guys' comments. What when you heard the news, like what were some of the first things that went through your mind? So if you like the comments, and what do you think that this particular loss in 2020 means? To me, it's almost like, man, there almost seems to be like a symbolism here in some ways. It's just been a tough year, and for someone that represents an iconic character like that in an iconic movie, and I appreciate what you're saying about his family, because I think that's 100% true. And I think we have to. It's like the weird life of like celebrities live in such a strange dynamic of being kind of in the world, but then above it in some ways as well. But I think for him, like him embracing, him understanding like the nature of like and the significance of this role, and I don't think that there, I think that he would embrace some of the conversation, but yeah, I think it's tough in 2020 to look at what's going on and to see the loss of someone like that. And man, I do think about his family and about what it means to push. I appreciate some of the elements of Wakanda that is self-sustaining, is some of the things I think need to start to happen. It's kind of Marcus Garvey-ish in a way, like in terms of what happened and like his vision of what it would mean to have a self-sustaining community, have the Black Star fleet and all of that kind of stuff. Where do you want to go next? There's the NBA. You want to start with Jacob Blake? Is that the most timeline
Can we
sensible
just
thing
end
to
it?
do?
Can we just end it now? Can we just call it a wrap? No, I mean, obviously, we know that y'all came on and tuned in to talk about all this happening in Kenosha, and we're ready to go there. So we're definitely going to talk about all that that's going on. So yeah, I think we start with Blake, and then we transition into the young man that did the shooting.
There's been a ton there's a ton really hard, which is typical, but on both sides of the aisle in both of these cases, and man, stuff is high. Like tensions are high, emotions are high. Like there's so much division here. Can we roll that clip, Ralph, of the
so set the
report?
clip up, Steve. What is the clip of?
So this is a clip. It's kind of self-explanatory, but it's it's the press conference afterwards. This is after the Jacob Blake shooting. This is kind of their initial, this is what happened. So we're going to walk through
the body that's going to be doing an investigation on the circumstances.
Yep.
Then on the evening of Sunday, August 23rd, 2020, Kenosha Police Department officers were dispatched to a residence in the 2800 block of 40th Street after a female caller reported that her boyfriend was present and was not supposed to be on the premises. During the incident, officers attempted to arrest Jacob S. Blake, age 29. Law enforcement deployed a taser to attempt to stop Mr. Blake, but the taser was not successful in stopping him. Mr. Blake walked around his vehicle, opened the driver's side door, and leaned forward. While holding on to Mr. Blake's shirt, Officer Rustin Shesky fired his service weapon 7 times.
So that officer had been on the force for 7 years. Mr. Blake did admit to having a knife, and that knife was on the passenger side floorboard. And so I am curious, given kind of all of this, I think the first thing that I saw and what I saw people responding to is you see him walk around the car, and kind of get into his car and get shot. There's not much other that you have to go on, and knowing his kids are there. So now hearing that he was there was a struggle, they tried to take. I don't know if the taser just hit him, it did not affect him, or if they missed, or what the case may be. With all that where are your thoughts here, Dwan?
So, I mean, obviously, the context in which I see and think about these things is as, a black male that grew up in the inner city, right? So, I always see myself as Blake in these type of scenarios, in these type of situations. That's why I think it's important to have some balance. So throw the call, the number up, Ralph. So if anybody wants to join the conversation in real time with us, you can text this number 313-473-0499 if you want to jump on with us real quick and share your thoughts. 313-473-0499. So or obviously we got the comment section, but feel free to engage with us. I see Kenny Simone in there as well, Monique.
Ken said it's a shame that you all have something new to talk about each week. It literally breaks my heart.
Yep, no doubt. You can count on there being something else to talk about, right? But yeah, I mean, for me, I would love to have seen the officers do anything but shoot the dude, right? It's like if somebody has their back to you, and we had a police officer on here saying that there are certain circumstances in which police officers can shoot you if you're running away from them. I don't understand that. I don't see how or why anybody would do that right now. If this guy is somebody that's known to shoot at police officers or do something like that, and you're aware of that in the history, then I guess some of that stuff makes sense. But
so do you need that? That's my question.
To go straight to being ready to shoot somebody, right? I don't understand that. To me, it's if I can't make the arrest, I kill you. Like, to me, it's like, no, like you got away, right? Unless you're an immediate threat to me or someone else. The thought is, if I can catch you, I catch you. If not, like, you got away. But I'm not going to kill you in order to apprehend you, right? And if you fire on a weapon 7 times, that's an attempt to kill someone, right? So, like, if the protocol is make the arrest by any means, right, then that's a problem with the protocol, right? But if someone's making a judgment call to like fire somebody, because the way I looked at the press conference after their investigation, they found a knife inside the car, and he admitted that it was his knife that was inside the car. But that's something that they found out after the fact. That's not something that they knew, right? So could the officer make an assumption that he was going in his vehicle to get a gun? Yeah, he could make that assumption. But hell, like, if you're going to make an assumption that somebody's getting ready to get a gun at anything that you're concerned about, and you're just going to start to fire away, we're all going to be in trouble, right? So, like, those are some of my immediate thoughts.
So as a police officer, and we saw this, a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, where you had an officer within 4 feet of getting shot, like directly in the face, and not making it home. Actually, and my wife was telling me over the past couple of days, DPD was shot at again. And I don't know if anyone was hit or not. But like, that's kind of when you have someone in the context of which you know that there's at least violence in their past, and it's not just this one incident, it's several incidents. So you probably know, like, I don't know if they know all that going into it, but you have that, you have the failed taser, and then you have him reaching in to get something, or maybe just get in his car and go away. Getting in his car and going away is the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you don't make it home to dinner. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's my, like, how do you weigh that in the balance? Because like,
so I love that you brought up the different, like the situation in Detroit, right? Because the situation in Detroit was like officers that were going to apprehend the other suspect that was a suspect in a shooting where multiple people got shot a few days prior at a big gathering, right? So they were going to make like an arrest of somebody that was assumed to be like someone that was armed and dangerous. They still approached them with the respect that we want officers to approach citizens, right? Because again, like, innocent until proven guilty, right? Now, what ended up happening, like taking that approach, put that officer in harm's way, because like, thank God that the dude like was a terrible shot.
Horrible.
Right? Like, thank God, right? Because
he was horrible.
Because that it was really, really a dangerous situation. But that officer, like, I don't know if it was like training, I don't know if it was divine intervention. That officer like did like what was necessary and most reasonable, logically thinking people's minds to diffuse the situation. And he was still merciful. It was not extra. It wasn't a bunch of shooting after, you know what I mean? Like they didn't just fill him with bullets just because they could, because the guy was like dead wrong. They didn't do all of that, right? The guy was still shooting as he was falling, and they took a couple more shots, and that was it. So I think, you know, if those same officers had someone back to them, those officers would not have done what the officer did, like in Milwaukee. That's a lot of thinking on my part.
Kenosha.
Right? Yeah, in Kenosha, right? So that's based on what I saw in that video. And I didn't watch the Blake video because I'm trying to protect myself from getting accustomed and used to seeing people get shot and killed. So for that reason, I haven't like physically seen it. But That's where I'm at. Like,
so my pushback is a lot of cops get shot on like regular routine traffic stops.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like, again, like, one, and I do think it's important. So, like, I'm trying to kind of have like a holistic conversation here, but I do think it's important. What you said earlier is we really need to look at what are the norms, what are the laws, why are they that way? My first thought was like, what about a taser? You know what I'm saying? And then I hear like, oh, they tried that. Yeah. And so now I get to the place where I realize that stuff doesn't, stuff escalates quickly. So if he pulls out a gun and they don't know that he has a gun or doesn't have a gun, but like, you know what I'm saying? If he's not complying, going for like to his car, anything can be in that car. Like that's when it gets super dangerous real quick. And
I think for me, the assumption is his keys are in the car and he's about to try to jump in the car and get away, right? Because he don't want to get arrested. But but again, like it's dangerous and officers get shot, and that's extremely unfortunate, right? And like I hate to see that happen. But if these same officers, and we have a history of seeing and witnessing this stuff happen across the board, right? Like all people of all communities, then maybe I would say, okay, like this is an unfortunate situation that would have been handled the same way had that been a white dude, right? But it just doesn't seem that way, especially when our next subject is going to be a dude walking through there with an assault rifle that had fired it, had people running behind him saying he just shot somebody, and the police let the dude by as if he's one of them, right? So like that's the problem that I have with that situation. It's like, no, dude, like be consistent is what I'm saying. Like if they would have shot and killed him and be like, look, that's how we get down here, then maybe. But you have a dude that does not have a gun, has his back to you, he's fleeing, maybe he's going to get something, right? Maybe he's not, right? But is there another approach? Can we take cover, right? Can we like put ourselves in a non-compromised situation and pull our weapons out? And if something happens where we need to shoot because he's shooting, or we're aware that he has a gun, like, and I know that I'm asking people to do a lot of thinking in really like in their minds what's a situation that may be very dangerous. I get that, right? But that's the expectation I have of like officers, right? And maybe my expectations is not realistic, but I would love to see some balance. If we got to a place where it was consistent and we saw the same type of stuff happening consistently in communities across the country, then maybe we're having a different conversation. But I have not seen that. You know what I mean? I don't see this happening at the same numbers with the same level of consistency. And I'm fully aware of the boogeyman imagery and approach that we have when we think about the Black man in this nation, and how intentional the propaganda is that we're all impacted that way and we all see Black men as dangerous. So
yeah, Jason, they were there because he was not supposed to be there. He had a restriction. What the heck? Personal protection order against him. He was not supposed to be on the premises.
There was a call made to the police to remove him because he shouldn't have been there. Is what the report said.
The proof that was the proof that you're asking about on Wafa is that's just what the report said. They reported they tried the taser, it didn't work. I'm sure that will come out over time. There's multiple witnesses there. I agree with you on the consistency. The pushback on this specifically, and we'll get to the other one. The pushback on this is always like what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Comply is compliant. So I get that doesn't always work too. It is interesting to me. I was thinking about this today that we don't, although there are like just numerically more white people that get shot by the police, it doesn't end up on the news. You know what I'm saying? And that's a really phenomenal thing to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what to make of that. I am very, like, I think about it from a lot of different angles, and I have not landed on any.
Yeah.
And it's both. It's on both sides of the spectrum. You know what I'm saying? I've heard people talk about like just the normalization of what it means to kill a black body, but I could also see it, you know, from the interest of the left of trying to kind of create a certain narrative to push a certain agenda. So I look at I see it from both sides. There's other angles that I'm considering as well, and I just don't know where to like. It's intriguing to me.
Yeah, and the challenge I have with that is this, right? Like, there's a history of us trying to tell the world how effed up our relations are with the police in the black community. There's not a history of black or white folks saying the police mistreat us, right?
Yep.
Like, we don't have that history, right? So like, you still have to figure out what was happening in those situations. When white people are shot by the police, was it somebody that was sitting there and told the police that he had a license to carry, like the Philando Castile situation? Was it somebody that was laying in bed? You know what I mean? Like Breonna Taylor. Like what was the situation? Or was it somebody that was fighting the police back? Was it somebody that, you know, it was just an accident? What was happening? Because just to say that more white people numerically get killed than black people by the police, like, that's not telling me anything. Like, we're talking about folks getting choked out for cigarettes. We're talking about a 12-year-old kid. Like, I want to see a 12-year, like somebody show me like the 12-year-old white kid that was playing with the gun in a state that has you can open carry. It's legal for you to have a weapon in the first place, right? So like, let show me that, and we can have that conversation, right? Until then, like, you just throwing statistics at me, and we've been crying this out for decades, right? And until we have like camera footage, and we still like are having a conversation. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I think but I think it would be helpful to see more camera footage. Gerard, I was not implying that like that it's that white people, like, with that, all I'm saying is that numerically there's more to go from, and so it seems even strange to me that like we don't see it. But yeah, black people are like 3 times more likely to be shot by police if you factor in like the per capita numbers. So yeah, but yeah, it's crazy. So let's move on to the Kyle, because that's a good comparison. So Kyle Rittenhouse, he is there from Illinois, strapped. He's 17. He's got an AR-15, and he is there, what he says, to provide medical help for those who need it, and to protect businesses. So one of the interviews you see with him, he's standing in front of this boarded up business, and he says he's wanting to protect it. One of the things that kind of set this off is there's some people that set a barrel. Kenosha police killed a white person as well in the past. His father has been on the news. Yeah, that stuff doesn't tend to make the same. It doesn't tend to make as spectacular a splash as it does like this other stuff. That's all I would say. So one of the clips that I saw is Kyle, like, so some protesters set this like large, seemed like it was a kind of one of those commercial small size trash bins. It's like this probably 3x6 can. They set it on fire, and they're gonna ram it into something. He comes up with a fire extinguisher. You know what I'm saying? So he's got a rifle on him, comes up with a fire extinguisher, puts it out. That pisses people off. And so after that, you know, he's getting chased out for something, and he gets somebody fires a shot. He's not the first person to fire a shot. He fires the next shot, and I think that person dies. There's at least 2 people dead. Somebody else got their bicep blown off. Basically, people do assault him, and it's it's interesting because there are lawyers who are saying that they think that the self-defense is clear, because one, he's not the first person to fire a shot, and two, people are attacking him because it is legal to carry, except for him though. He's 17, and there's a lot here. There is the part with the police. There's the fact that he gets to drive home to Illinois. Oh boy!
Never would have happened. Black dude running through there with the AR-15, like he would have got blown away. And I'm like somebody that like does not even buy scratch-off tickets or raffle tickets because I'm, I used to have a gambling addiction. But I bet that, right? I don't even think that's a bet, right? What black dude running through there with the AR-15 gets blown away.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Says when property is valued over people, we have a problem.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. Neat. That's what got everybody talking, right? It's like, and that's the message that's been sent, right? Like the message is, you peacefully protest, we don't hear you, you're not loud enough. You know what I mean? Like Neek's a new mom. Like I know babies that when they cry, like it sounds like music to me. So it's like, I'm like, yeah, like I can listen to that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but then you got some babies that's got some pipes, and you like, no, you're gonna find out what the heck is going on, right? So like the peaceful protesters are like treated as somebody like singing a song and non-threatening. But when they start burning stuff up, everybody's like, oh, we have to do something. We have to respond. So it's like, is it the protesters that are tripping out, or is it us that refuse to do anything, right? Like who's tripping? You know what I'm saying? So it's like you had, we've seen this before, right? We've seen like other folks in the civil rights movement say, you know what? Like we was with you, we marched with you when we were doing sit-ins. Like they made promises, they reneged. We've done that. We ain't doing that no more. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna get jacked up anyway. So we're gonna get jacked up anyway. Like let's give them something to jack us up about. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's what I'm like. Oh, Ryan, you listen to violent folks. Even if you listen to them enough to come on here and say I don't listen to them. You see what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm saying. Like that's the whole thing. Like that's what gets us moving. And
I think he's talking about rioters. He's saying like, you lose me with that.
Yeah. So is it their fault or is it our fault? Right? Like if we listen to those that are peacefully protesting, like would it even get to that point?
See, that's what everybody's doing. Everybody's trying to like use what other people do or don't do to justify behaviors that are destructive. So I don't view like the rioters as any, like I hear that argument, and I've heard Dr. King explain the riots. He never said, like, people never talk about the context in the same thing, that he does not condone the riots. They'll use the one where he explains them. Like, this is what happens when you don't, like, I get that. Yeah. But I think rioters use that as like an excuse. And you have so many people out there for so many, some people just get kicks. Like it is when I was like 17, like I would have got kicks off of that. You know what I'm saying? Burning something up, like doing some dumb stuff. And so there's like, there's a mix of that. And then you got people that want to destroy someone's business that they like, that they're trying to feed their family with, that has zero effect on them, zero impact on them. You know what I'm saying? As long as they don't get caught, and they're counting on not getting caught. Like, I don't have respect for that either. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm tired of everybody pointing the finger at everybody else and say, well, I'm doing this because you did that, or you didn't do that, or you know what I'm saying? So then that gives me a pass to go ahead and do this.
No, so what I'm saying is, let's point the finger at everybody, like all of us.
I agree.
I'm saying us.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. So like, I'm not a guilty party in this. But what I'm saying is, if we are not like listening, if we're not actively doing something about it, like trust and believe, like that's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, yeah, like I don't even understand like why it's it's so like people are so surprised by it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I don't even understand it. Like because I don't know a people group that would have taken this long to riot. I don't know if white folks dealt with the stuff that we dealt with. And like I got all kind of explicit language going on in my mind. But if white folks dealt with a piece of what we dealt with, this whole country would be blew up. The whole country. Y'all talking about stuff. Like white people kill people when this happened. You know what I mean? Like not stuff. You know what I'm saying? So like I don't like I'm blown away with our response to property, like to Nick's point, over people, right? Like we saying like stop shooting, stop killing people, right? And I'm not justifying folks damaging other folks' property. I'm not justifying it. What I'm saying is like that's wrong, right? Like we land unified there. But like why are we talking about that? You know what I mean? With such unity and everybody's here talking about it, and we still haven't fixed the problem that's solvable with the police brutality if we just prosecuted folks when they kill Black people, unjustly.
So talk about Roger Goodell.
Yeah. So I mean, Roger Goodell.
Because I think this is a good segue into that.
Yeah. So
and explain who Roger Goodell is.
Yeah. So Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL. The NFL, I have all kinds of like opinions about like the NFL and their tactics and their managing styles and their approach. I mean, just the deals that the players get there and the power dynamics that are at play. But I mean, recently he's walking back and he's saying that, you know, he wished they would have listened to Colin Kaepernick now, right? Like when Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee, it's like he wasn't saying much. He was just like, I'm not in agreement with like, you know, standing for and acknowledging the national anthem, right? So like the platform came because people were upset. People were protesting his protest, right? Like people were protesting his peaceful protest, right? Like they're gonna boycott the NFL. Like the president wanted them fired, called their moms names, you know what I'm saying? Like all of that. And now hindsight is walking back and want to do that thing that we do, like what's happened to Muhammad Ali and Martin Luther King, right? It's like we forget that at the time, you know, like the head of the FBI was saying that Martin Luther King Jr., the most peaceful person that this country's probably seen, was saying that he was the most dangerous, right? Yeah. Like painting him out, you know, today we would call him terrorist because that's like, you know, the common term. And I've seen people call Black Lives Matter movement like a terrorist organization. And we know like what that type of language leads to. So anyway, now Roger Goodell is coming to the carpet earlier saying now or normally than we, a lot quicker than we normally do. We normally wait till generations after someone's dead, right? And yeah, I didn't even want to say his name on here, Brian. So like, yeah, but anyway, we normally take a lot longer to get to the point where somebody walks that stuff back. Now, because of the social pressure that's put on everybody and everybody's getting the green light to say something like what Roger Goodell is saying, now he's coming out saying we should have listened to him. And, you know, glad he's saying that now. I would love to see them put something in place. Me, for one, I'm not interested in seeing Kaepernick play again, right? Like that's not an interest of mine. I like to see him with a large platform doing something about like this subject matter on a personally, that's what I'd like to see. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Y'all done heard enough of my thoughts, man. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from some of y'all. So I know.
Yeah, Gerard, I sent you the link, man. So if you just follow that link in your messenger, you can jump on with us.
Yeah. And feel free. Anybody else that wants to jump on, Neek, you and Kobe can jump on if y'all want to. That's the number to text if y'all want to jump on. And We got any more comments that we missed?
Well, I bring the Goodell thing up because I think we need to take this like several layers deeper. So we could talk about Kyle and we could talk about Jacob, and I do think the difference in how they're treated is key. I think there's nuances there too. Like Kyle was walking to the police with his hands up. Needless to say, like, you don't get to go home, buddy. Like, you just don't. Like that blows my mind. But the police themselves did not feel threatened. And I think that's the nuance there. But still, like, it's not like, I almost hate saying that because it sounds like I'm justifying the whole thing. I'm not. Like,
no, I agree.
It's absolute.
I agree. They don't feel threatened because it's a white dude. Like, if it's a black dude with the same motives on the same mission, they would have felt threatened. So I agree with you there.
Yeah. So yeah. But the reason I think I bring the Goodell thing up now is because I think it goes back to like, man, the protest, listening to this stuff has been an issue. There needs to have something happen. There needs to be real leadership. What I would like to see, like, we have to get to the part where we are addressing, where we are like dissecting how we view black males, how we view black people, how we view each other too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like we're all like having this. I never interact with just you. You know what I'm saying? I'm interacting with like based on all the other experiences I've had in life with whatever categories. Like, our minds are so fantastically amazing at like categorizing and pulling things and like and filing things away so that my interaction right now is enhanced. It's almost like, it's far beyond AI. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are so advanced in how we don't even understand all the subconscious things that are happening when we interact with people. But I'm never interacting just with you. And then when it gets to be a stranger, like, it's even crazier. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm pulling all this data from all my experiences, and not just lived experiences, the stuff I saw on TV. You know what I'm saying? This stuff I watched, like listened to, etc. Like the stories somebody told me, all this stuff. And so, like, we really got to go deep down into that. So I think there needs to be some, like, when Lauryn Hill, like, the miseducation. Like, we've all been miseducated. All of us have been miseducated on very large. So there needs to be a de-education, a re-education, and we need to figure out like how to come to the table and treat each other, like view each other with like love, empathy, compassion, humanity, and treat each other the same way. And to make it even more bonkers and complicated, there's crazy people who are going to go for a knife or a gun or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the midst of that. So it's tough. It's not a simple thing. But I'm really, as a country, we need leadership of some form. And I don't even mean like, this isn't meant to be like, a lot of times I would think about like this being a critique of the president. We need leadership from somewhere. Somebody doesn't have to be, it doesn't even have to be a politician. We need leadership of some bodies that are going to have enough gravitas, enough charisma, enough sensibilities and love, compassion, humility to be able to bring people together and say, hey, let's slow down. Let's pump the brakes. Let's kind of try to sort some things out and figure out how to move forward. And that's probably going to be a hot mess. And it will not be easy, but like, we can't, like, this stuff doesn't just start, you know what I'm saying? This does not start with that police with a 911 call, like, Jacob is here, he's not supposed to be here. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't start when Kyle like decides to get in his van from Illinois and drive to Kenosha. That it starts, you know what I'm saying? It's so far before that and deeper than that. And regardless of where you come, like, where either of us or anybody like here comes out on these issues, like, we have to find a way to like get down like 3 levels, 5 levels deeper. Agreed.
Jared, Ralph, it looks like we got a visitor. Jared wants to jump on. So can you bring Jared in?
Hey guys, what's going on? What's up, Dwan?
What up, bro? How you feeling?
Man, I'm all right, man. I'm feeling good. How about you?
Good, doing good, man. Good to see you.
Hey, welcome. So it's Jared, not Gerard. I was
It's Gerard.
mispronouncing
No,
your name.
you have it right. You got it right. It's Gerard.
Okay,
It's
gotcha.
Gerard. It's Gerard. It's all right. It's okay. I answered to both. You know what I mean? I've
Okay.
carried this name for a long time, so you get both.
So
Yeah.
what's up, bro? Where'd you want to go? Where was your
Well, I mean, so it was a couple of points that you had made in reference to, and I'm, as far as the actual incident itself, it is very convoluted. There's so many different aspects to it, in reference to, what, was he complying? He wasn't complying. What could have happened? Blah blah blah. But I think the example that you talked about, like in so many other cases when we see like like the Dylan Roofs, people of that nature, like he was taking a Burger King after he killed all those people, in the church down in was that South Carolina or one of the Carolinas? You just time and time again, when you do have like a mass shooter type of incident, the offender is just doesn't receive the same type of response as you do in a situation for something that has nothing to do with murder. And the first thing is like clamping down, you know what I mean? And so far as a black people, and if the history of where police came from, the history of overseers, you know what I'm saying, the history of all of this, and it's just been a consistent, because black bodies have never really been, in my opinion, ever since we were no longer slaves anymore. Our lives, our bodies didn't hold financial wealth to anyone. Then we were open game to everyone at that point. I mean, and we just had a consistent history that's over and over. I can understand if this was just a vacuum. You know what I mean? If this was a vacuum or what have you, and these things didn't occur, then you could say, well, maybe you're looking too much into it. You're looking at too much race or too much. You got to think about what the officer is going through. I mean, because that's a valid point you made earlier, Steve. We didn't know. The guy, if he resisted, allegedly, if there was the tasers deployed, you know what I mean? Now he's still going around to the car or what have you. Yes, there would, yes, that there is something to say that those officers would be worried about what he could have or could not have done, right? But at the same time, though, I feel life should be always the utmost thing. You know what I mean? Like, now, if he did present a gun, like in the examples you guys were talking about earlier with the young man that shot at the police officer at point, at very close range, you know what I mean? Then you could say, all right. And even in that case, I kind of looked at it differently. I didn't feel like the police had to still shoot him because he was running away, and they shot him. You know what I'm saying? So, and the cop that got shot at in that particular situation did not shoot. The first thing that he did. So this is the funny, crazy part about that case that we're talking about in that video. The guy that got shot at, the police officer that got shot, he didn't respond with shooting the kid. He went to go wrestle him down. The other police officer shot him as he, and to me, I thought was reckless, because I'm a military guy, and we have a, really.
I don't know if we're talking about the same incident.
Yeah, I think he is.
Yes,
talking about Detroit, right?
You're talking about
Yeah,
6 mile line?
Yep, I'm talking about that one.
I thought I saw the dude return fire.
No, he didn't. The cop that got shot, the cop, no, he didn't. The cop that got shot at was a black cop. He was a black cop, and I think that's the reason why he didn't return and shoot at him. The kid was walking backwards. He shoots because he's walking backwards or what have you. In turn, he falls as he's trying to turn around. You know what I mean? Because he's walking backwards. You know what I mean? He digs in his pocket. He walks. He comes up. He shoots. Thank God he missed the guy. You know what I mean? And in a turn, he's trying to run. He falls. The black cop that he shot at, the one who would have been harmed, right, was a black male. The other cops were white males. You know what I'm saying? He goes to go after him. He goes to, like, he could have pulled out his gun and shot him as he was running, but no, he goes to tackle the young man to the ground. The other police officers that were adjacent to him, because that's where we get the body cam footage is off the officer that would be to the police officer's right. He shoots, and another cop that was to the left of him shoots at the young man and kills him. all as the other cop is going down to bring him down to the ground, which I thought again was quite reckless because your own police officer was in your field of fire. But you know, that's neither here nor there. Point. But look at that. Let's examine that a little bit more. Why did, you know what I'm saying, that black cop did not go immediately to shoot this kid that shot at him? He could have done that. That could have been.
To me, that was a proximity issue. Like, he was so close and like advancing so quickly, he didn't necessarily have time to pull his gun. Like, the more safe thing would be to just grab him. To me, that's my perspective.
He could have. I mean, he could. I mean, because he had every right to. Because that's one of those instances where a police officer could be valid in shooting a suspect that's running away from them in the back. That's one of those instances.
One of the things I'm interested in is to talk about again. Like, there's a compliance issue, right? And so what does it mean for? I think what's the context? Because white people are always going to say, if you don't comply, you white, black, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. Like, and you get shot. Like, in those circumstances, like, oh well, buddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's always going to be the response. So I'm curious about the history of this. Like, what is the problem of compliance as it relates to the black community?
I'll take a little stab at that, right? I'll try to make this a 2-minute story. 13, 14, years old, living in Brightmoor, playing basketball. My friend down the street's rim was what we would do. Got done, he lived on a corner house. We go hang out on the corner of his house, grab a couple Fagos or whatever. Police would come by there, they would harass us. Like, we just kids that live on that block, but they would make all kind of assumptions about us. Now, none of us were into any, like, breaking any laws at this point, right? But we were scared of them, right? Like, after a while, I mean, I've shared the story about chasing the girls that were going to the store, and when the police came, they surrounded us with 4 cars, got out the car because we were running, trying to catch the girls on the next block and jump from behind the house and scare them. They just saw some black kids running in our neighborhood down our street, which is what kids do, right? They run sometimes. So they surrounded us. The superior officer, a white dude, they were all a bunch, like some black, some white. All of them were mean to us and intimidating. They were questioning my friend Bossy, who's dead now. The police officer was intimidating. He's really close, spitting in Bossy's face while he's talking to him. And he told, like, Bossy started to stutter and was nervous. He told Bossy if he said "huh" to him one more time, he was going to slap the you-know-what out of him.
Yep.
So this is our experience with them.
Yep.
But guess what? Like, after a while, we're like, look, we might as well run from them. You know what I mean? Like, we know the backyards that have the pit bulls in them. We know the backyards you can jump the fences, get in through the neighborhood. So from there, like, at a certain point, after a few interactions like that, we were like, we're just gonna run from the police when we see them, and that's what we started to do. So if you think about what you said earlier about I'm never just interacting with you.
Yep.
It's a combination of all these other experiences that I've had, images that I've seen, is what inspired me to, like, interact with you in whatever way I'm going to interact with you. So it would make more sense to me if a lot more black people just saw the police and took off running based on, like, some of these things that we see. But we don't see a lot of that. Now we see people pulling out their cell phones, but, like, that's, like now you got some kids that when they see the police, they take off running. We're not going to comply. Should they kill us? You know what I mean? Is that what people would have told my mom, that without understanding the context, because we're not even going back telling our parents that the police stopped us on the corner, told us to get the F off the corner, that kind of stuff. That's something to think about when you see some of this stuff and people fleeing or not complying. And at a certain point, you're just upset and you want to say something back to them because they've, like, made you feel less than a human being at times, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I'm saying, where we need to go like 2, 3, 5 layers deeper, because, to really understand that, like, my experience with the police and my parents' experience with the police was not that. So they did not train me like in the same way that black children get trained around the police, because it wasn't like the police weren't looked at as a life and death thing. The police were looked like, you know, they're here to like protect and serve for real. Like, you know, like they actually do that. You know what I'm saying? Unless you do something dumb, you know, and then you're gonna get in trouble, but you're gonna go through the regular law. So I think to like really get into like, I think we really have to start to try to get into each other's psyche and have like some compassion and empathy and really hear more of those stories. I viewed another one today, a white father talking about his black child. I don't know if he's adopted, if he's mixed or what. But like, and just the stories that he had in his own neighborhood that were like terrifying stories of like interactions with police, just being a normal kid, just doing normal stuff. Like it just, and so I think to really understand, and I don't like, again, like I think when we try to dissect one scenario, and you alluded to that a few minutes ago, when you try to look at one scenario, like you're not going to get like real far. Like you could be right or wrong or like neither on that, but like when you start to look at the patterns, when you start to look at the psyches, you start to look at like what police have been doing like since police have been in existence, then you look at stuff as similar as like is closely related to as like what was happening in mass on TV, like being in the media, like with police and what they were doing to enforce things, and what you see happening now, like then you start to like hopefully pause and start to appreciate like, oh, like the police aren't there, like they're not looked at like, oh, they're here for us. You know what I'm saying? They're here for us, but just not in a good way. Go ahead, you were gonna say something, Gerard?
Yeah, so that, you know, you I'll caveat or move into, this has been going on forever. You know what I mean? Like again, I kind of was bringing about it going back in the past, how the police even evolved, right? I mean, generally speaking, there, you know, in our country's big founding, there wasn't an active police force as we know it, but there was slave patrols. You know, those things were, you know, the bounty hunters, all that all comes out of slavery. You notice, and if you ever watched the movie the 13th, all right, it deals with the history of prisons. All modern day prisons started really kind of come about post Civil War, because it was a need to re-enslave black males again for you know, vagrancy laws. All of those things came on the books post slavery. Right. And so the black community has consistently have to have dealt with this over and over and over again. You know, I wrote Bobby Seale and I asked him on Facebook, and I was like, you know, the whole purpose of the Black Panthers was recently. This was recently, just yesterday, okay. Actually. Yesterday, I wrote Bobby Seale. I mean, he didn't write me back yet. You know, it was an automated message, you know, but he has a presence on Facebook, you know what I mean? And to think about it, this was their whole origin program was to police the police because of their misconduct. Back then, there was no message. There's no video cameras on our phones and everything. This has always existed. And, you know, they formed the Black Panthers in October 1966 as a result to try to, you know, protect their community and police the police and use their second right amendments, right? You know what I mean? Of being able to open carry, because California was an open carry state at that time. You know what I mean? To observe the police, at least to, you know, they want, one was to also garner, you know, the respect of the neighborhood, but also to be kind of a check, because if, you know, you would think the police will act differently if they're being monitored. Well, you know, we have Rodney King. I remember, I mean, I was young, 91, going on and so on and so forth. Keep constantly with the police. I'm sorry, with the police immunity that they have. It doesn't matter, because all they can say is, "Hey, I felt threatened." That, you know what I mean? And if you, I mean, what makes one person threatened versus another is very subjective. And I would say, I'm willing to bet that, you know, these police officers are not going to be found guilty. That's why they're taking so long to even put charges on them, because they're going to have that to be able to say, hey, he went in his car. I don't know what he had. Yeah. He didn't comply, so on and so forth. Now we can execute you. But they don't do that by law. I don't think by law they'll be found. Like, I don't think they are guilty by law based upon what has been explained to us regarding what police officers' rights are in that scenario. Man, it's gonna watch. We'll see.
And that's what we talked about as far as policy. Like, we have to start looking at, like, taking a fresh look at the actual policies and laws are in place. So like, just because it is lawful, should it even be lawful? And you mentioned a great thing, because you talk about like when certain things are taking place, like when certain things are enacted. Jason made the point, prisons have been around like since forever. So yeah, there's that. But I will say, like we talked about this with the Ahmaud Arbery case. When did the citizens arrest law come into place? 1863.
Yeah.
1863. You know what I'm
What's
saying?
that?
So when you let that sink in, like emancipation,
Emancipation, right?
And citizens arrest law come into the same year, and it's still on the books, like that's just normal. So we need to, like, there's so much that we need to like really look at. I feel like we need to kind of wipe the slate clean and take a completely fresh look at everything. No, like everything's on the table. Everything's on the table. You know what I'm saying? Let's take nothing for granted, make no assumptions, like that, you know, everything. So yeah. But I appreciate you being on, Gerard.
Yeah, thank you so much, bro.
All right, no problem, guys.
I really appreciate your perspective, man.
Yep, no problem.
So we got a couple more comments, and then we got to get ready to wrap up, y'all. Yeah, I appreciate the interaction, all the comments.
How many cops die when they hesitate and wait? That's part of what I brought up earlier. Is, you know, it's like that's the challenge of the job. And
yeah, I mean, I was like always, like, what's the answer though? Like what to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't hesitate, don't wait, shoot. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I hear. Like with that question posed in this context, right?
So if it's your brother-in-law, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you expect him to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
but anyway, yeah, they're like, tough conversations.
No, it's tough conversations, and like I hope nobody took this as us just looking to bash the police, right? I think it's us like trying to bash us all and say, look, we need to get this right. Like, what does getting it right look like? What is it being right? Right? It's broken. You know what I mean? It's not. It's not. We are not well. We're not well.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, to argue that we are, I think, is where some of the serious frustration lies, and that's kind of what has made me struggle with, like, having some hope this week. But you know, I'm always going to fight to have hope, even when it, you know, makes me look foolish in a lot of people's eyes and a lot of my peers' eyes. Yeah, but even you know, if I choose to have hope, like, I know that sometimes it doesn't even make sense for me to have hope. But I choose hope. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen myself grow. I've seen myself change. I've seen myself like overcome some deeply rooted like issues. So I believe that it's possible for us to do it, but somebody's got to be willing to acknowledge that we're messed up and that we'll put in the work. So I thank y'all, because I think this is a part of the work.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you to Combs, man. Good to see you in the comments. Pastor Aramis, yeah, not only did he walk down the street, he drove home to another state. I cannot tell you how blown my mind is on that. Like, you just literally killed people. You have an interaction with the police. I'm assuming, you know, I haven't gotten all the details. I've done some research on this, but I see him walking towards several police cars, and I know he makes it home to Illinois. That is just mind-boggling. So I think that's, regardless of where you come down on either of these cases or on any of these cases, I think when you take the Dylan Roofs, when you take this, and when you take a George Floyd and a Justin Blake and a Tamir Rice, a Philando Castile, I think when you take all of this in picture, and that's why, you know, it is looking at patterns. we speak in generalities, but just looking at patterns, and the patterns all point to, like, we have a huge problem. Ralph, before we go, put that comment up, please. What the guy was saying about the Kyles. Yeah, here we go. As riots continue, more Kyles will come to the forefront to protect property and livelihoods. And man, that one hit me, because this is what I've been like. That's actually part of what we talked about last week, was the fact that, like, the stuff that we saw happen last week, more and more of that's going to happen. And then less than a week later, you see something way worse happen. Now, what's going to happen now? Kyle, when I looked yesterday, he had almost $100,000 raised. It's probably way more than that now for his defense campaign.
So
Kyle will continue to show up around this country.
So if one of those people that Kyle killed is my son, is my daughter, and I see that response, first I see the police let him go, like, hydrate him and bless him and send him on his way, right? And then I see people, like, come to his aid and, like, raise that type of money that fast, while I'm trying to bury my child in a pandemic where I can't even have, like, a traditional celebration of their life that was taken out by this dude, right? Like what does that do for me? What does that turn me into? What's my response? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. And I think but I do think, though, this is going to embolden more people to kind of do what Kyle did, which is going to everybody guns. If you got stock in gun companies right now, you're doing all right. People are buying up guns left and right, and this stuff is going to continue to happen. Everybody's, like, gearing up. So, like, we can either bury our head. I think there's several responses. You can bury your head, you can gear up, or we could try to find a different type of solution. And if there's no leadership in this country presenting itself to do it, then you know whose responsibility is. It's mine and it's yours. It's that simple. So we want to just keep playing politics as usual. I guarantee you, if we keep down this road, we're headed to, like, civil war. I've heard several people say it since, like, I started saying this, like, when I realized, like, Trump was a possibility to get elected. And I don't want to make this political, but, like, I'm seeing the stuff manifest now. I'm seeing it manifest now, and I've heard several people say this, like, within the past month: civil war. And I don't think it's just hyping stuff up. Like, I think you can see things gradually escalating, and all it takes is something to happen. Another something to you know what I'm saying? It's
yeah. It looks like Waffle agrees with you. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But so I try not to use terms like that because I feel like, I don't know. I mean,
I hear you. I don't like it either.
It's happening already, right? Like, but I hate to use, like, terms like that, because and even what with what the gentleman said, right? It's like, as true as that could be, it feels just like that might be, like Wafa said, a call for people to do that. You know what I mean? And it's
yeah, I get it. It's like talking about suicide. You talk about suicide, you media talks about suicide, and then suicide spikes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, people, everybody loses. Everybody will lose. Like, it's not even about, like, making your side wins. Your side cannot win even if you win. Cannot. It can't. So, like, especially because I know there's a lot of believers, and Stephen Marshall said something, like, about 30 minutes ago, and then I think Yvette said something, like, right after that. Like, he talked about an organization. Sounds like the job, when we talked about, like, the leadership, sounds like a job for an organization with what was it? Like, there you go. Driven by love and empathy. Which is I think his dry sense of humor coming in, pointing to the church, and Yvette followed it up. Where is the church? Where is the leadership? Where is the, like, Southern Christian Leadership Convention. You know what I'm saying? Like, where is that people? Like, where are they? Like, somebody, I was on a call yesterday, is like, we're protesting in the wrong places. Because we should be showing up at these churches, protesting there. Man, the church is like, you know, and I heard a pastor say something about that. It's like, you know, who's leading this? Who's leading this, and why? Why? Where is the church? The church has not stepped up. The people that talk about love and compassion and empathy, like, they're still on their right and left wings talking right and left stuff. Anyway, I know we got to shut it down, man. It's just, like, if you're happy, if you want to, like, stay on this road, we could just, like, keep going as normal. But you better, like, sound the clarion call if not, and do something different. Done for real.
Look, though we hate where we are on some of these things, we love y'all, and we love being able to process this stuff with y'all. You know, sounds like Steve is going to lead a protest at a church or something. So if you guys want to sign up for that, I guess you can, you know, sign up in the comment section. Y'all can organize that. But yeah, I guess, you know, next week we'll see what happened. Shout out to the cats in the NBA for taking a pause, pushing the pause button. We didn't even get to go there, but I want to say shout out to the cats in the NBA, especially the Milwaukee Bucks, for pushing a pause in the sports community. So
they got the most valuable player. Now you think they're the most valuable team?
Look, like, I appreciate them. You know what I mean? I appreciate them. I appreciate them, you know, doing what they did. I appreciate, what's the sister name, the tennis star?
Man, I'm not paying attention.
Yeah, so I appreciate her pushing pause. I appreciate the NFL like standing together with the NBA. So I don't want to. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention all of them. So obviously, y'all, like, you know, we will have something to talk about next week. Yeah, Stephen Osaka, thank you for that.
Yeah. So Simone, I'm talking about the whole church. I'm not talking about just the right-wing church. Like that. I'm talking about the left-wing church too, like the people that, like, liberal Christians, conservative Christians, all those. And I know you're shutting it down, Dewan. I wanted to squeeze that in there. And also, please, the way you can support us and help is, like, really, like, we want to engage a broader audience. We want to engage people that think very differently than us and, like, really have real conversations. So what you could do for us is to share this. Share this with people that want to hear it. Share it with people that don't want to hear it. That would be a big blessing for us. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got a new page somewhere too. Maybe we'll leave the so we're gonna start broadcasting from that central page, because now some comments are on Juwan's page, some comments on yours. We're trying to get everybody together, and as well as, like, you know, there's comments on our YouTube channel as well. Thank you. Stephanie Williams was on our YouTube channel tonight, so I think I saw that somewhere. Yeah, there she is. Oh. So thank you, Stephanie. All right. Anyway, sorry, Dewan.
Yep. So keep Brian, like you said, when you were I think mocking Jesse Jackson, keep hope alive. It's worth it, is what Brian said, and I agree with him. It's worth it. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do. That's opportunity. Like, let's get busy. Whatever that work looks like for you, go ahead, and hopefully we'll catch y'all back here next week. Sure, we'll have something to talk about, and Ralph's going to tell you why.
This is America.
I have a dream.
These are animals.
America preaches integration and practices segregation.
Why did you say Mexico?
A rising tide of discontent.
The South will rise again. I have a dream.
We have contrasting visions about what America is.
This is America.